Friends, if you want to watch super hit movie Azrael in English, then you must like this video if you're visiting our channel for the first time. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video, the movie we are going to talk about is called Azrael. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting about this movie in today's video. I'm going to tell you. I also going to give you all the information on. I request you friends to watch this video till the end. So let's start the video. Azrael is a 2024 American action horror film directed by E.L. Katz and written by Simon Barrett. The film stars Samara Weaving, Vic Camen Sonne, and Nathan Stewart Jarrett. It premiered at the 2024 South by Southwest Festival on March 9, 2024, and was theatrically released by IFC Films and Shudder in the United States on September 27, 2024. Plot. Many years after the rapture, the remaining human survivors on Earth are plagued by the Burned Ones, demonic humanoid creatures who are drawn to and prey upon human flesh and blood. Azrael and her lover, Kenan, are ousted from a forest-dwelling cult who believe that speech is a sin, and whom have surgically removed their vocal cords to cease speaking. Josephine, one of the cult's leaders, captures and separates the couple with the help of her henchmen. The cultists attempt to sacrifice Azrael to the Burned Ones, but Azrael manages to escape, killing one of the henchmen in the process. Azrael flees through the woods and infiltrates the cult's fenced encampment, where a woman named Miriam leads the cult as a spiritual interpreter, believing the wind speaks God's will, and listening to it through a hole in the wall of a ramshackle church. Azrael is discovered by Josephine and narrowly escapes the encampment. Late that night, Azrael stumbles upon a road where a man in a truck offers her a ride, but the vehicle crashes after a cultist shoots and kills the driver. After a protracted battle, Azrael manages to kill the cultist with his own rifle. In the woods, Azrael finds Kenan nailed to a tree, only to be caught in a booby trap by one of the cultists, leaving her dangling upside down by a rope. Several of the Burned Ones descend on the scene and attack and kill the cultist before also killing Kenan. Azrael manages to hoist herself onto a tree, hanging and killing one of the Burned Ones in the process. Azrael returns to the encampment and confronts Miriam in the church. Azrael prepares to execute her, but pauses when noticing that Miriam is pregnant, allowing Miriam a moment to attack. Miriam incapacitates her, causing Azrael to scratch Miriam's pregnant stomach as she falls to the floor. At Josephine's behest, the cultists bury Azrael in a coffin connected to a tunnel where a Burned One descends upon her. But the creature stops and backs away after it senses Miriam's blood on Azrael's hand. Enraged, Azrael manages to climb out of the buried casket and return to the encampment, lighting it on fire and assassinating the members of the group, one by one. In the church, she confronts Miriam, and a fight ensues in which Azrael bites into Miriam's neck, severely injuring her. Miriam goes into labor while an injured Josephine comes to her aid, attacking Azrael. Azrael drives a cleaver into Josephine's neck, mortally wounding her just as the cries of Miriam's newborn baby are heard. Miriam recoils in horror from the child before slitting her own throat. Azrael approaches the newborn, which is revealed to be a goat-like creature resembling the Antichrist. As the Burned Ones enter the church, they all begin to wail as Azrael stands holding Miriam's baby. Cast: Samara Weaving as Azrael, Vic Camen Sonne as Miriam, Nathan Stewart Jarrett as Kenan, Katarina Unt as Josephine. Production. Azrael was announced in September 2022 with plans for E.L. Katz to direct the film, written by Simon Barrett. Samara Weaving would star in the action horror film. The film began shooting in Harju County, Estonia in October 2022, with local production assistance from Katrin Kissa at Homeless Bob Production. The production had considered filming in Ontario, but decided on Estonia instead, with some post-production activities taking place in Estonia as well. Approximately 70% of the crew was hired locally, including cinematographer Mart Toniel, as were several cast members. 6. The production created an artificial moon in the Perispea forest during filming by using a system of connected floodlights hoisted by a crane. After filming was completed, it was taken to the 2023 European film market to find distribution. In September 2023, Republic Pictures announced that it purchased the North American distribution rights. Release: Azrael had its world premiere on March 9, 2024, at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas. It also screened at the Overlook Film Festival on April 5, 2024, and at the 28th Fantasia International Film Festival on August 2, 2024. In July 2024, IFC Films and Shudder acquired North American distribution rights to the film from Republic Pictures, scheduling it for a theatrical release on September 27, 2024, before streaming on Shudder at a later date. Reception on the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes: 73% of 70 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 6.310. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 52 out of 100, based on 9 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. The terrors are few in E.L. Katz's tepid horror thriller Azrael. We are plunged headfirst into a forest, where a young woman and man appear in love, if occasionally frustrated with each other. Neither can speak, so their story is told entirely by looks and affectionate gestures. But something is off in their world. There is a danger that is attracted to noise and motion, so silence and stillness are essential to one's survival. Their idyllic woodsy bliss is interrupted when other humans capture them for an untold plot. They, too, cannot speak. As the terrors close in on all sides, Azrael Weaving must take matters into her own hands and fight for her survival. Weaving, who broke out with the fantastic all-out family feud hit Ready or Not, is placed in a similar me-against-the-world predicament and must claw her way back to safety. Unfortunately, the story from writer and co-producer Simon Barrett gives her very little to work with beyond looking scared and struggling. It's chase sequence after chase sequence, with hints of context here and there, just enough to hold the story together but not enough to fully explain everything. Unlike Azrael, her partner Kenan, Nathan Stewart Jarrett, is, unfortunately, mere emotional bait, and he functions like an afterthought once off-screen. Like the mythical Azrael, a nod to the angel of death, the film incorporates other religious motifs and references, especially in the encampment where a church houses a Mary-like figure named Miriam, Vic Camen Sonne, whose second-in-command is a woman named Josephine, Katerina Unt. The walls are lined with crude paintings and candles, but its main purpose seems to reaffirm Miriam's domination of the group as a cult leader. She's the only character all clad in crisp white linen, while the rest survive in grungy clothes, the color of the forest earth, elevating her status in her small fiefdom. Why she and Josephine want Azrael so badly to be sacrificed to the monsters remains a mystery. Is it supposed to be a virgin sacrifice? Or does Azrael represent a danger to Miriam that only she knows? These are just some of the unsolved mysteries left unanswered. There are some clues in the movie's references to other horror classics, like how the title crawls up on the screen, reminiscent of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, or how Miriam's pregnancy resembles Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby. The most obvious example is John Krasinski's A Quiet Place, where the lack of sound and dialogue is a creative challenge. Katz does not quite manage to sustain the same level of suspense, and much feels lost in the lack of dialogue or any semblance of communication. Some moments captured by cinematographer Mark Toniel look like an entrancing reprieve, like a shot where the daylight pours into the forest through the leaves, and car lights illuminate trees in pure darkness, but they are too short to savor for long. Other scenes feel quite predictable, filmed in such a way that nothing felt particularly haunting, and only memorable when the movie's monsters feast on the poor souls unlucky enough to get caught. Speaking of those monsters, the demonic apparitions look like burnt bodies fresh out of hell, charred to a crisp black yet moist from protruding deep red muscles and blood where skin no longer exists. It's a gruesome sight, but not necessarily a scary one when the logic of these creatures seems only to suit the story's needs. At the film's start, Azrael panics because her partner started a fire, but later, the encampment feels quite secure in openly burning fires for light. Sure, they're flimsy barricades, but isn't that tempting fate to lure these creatures? The figures slowly walk like zombies, unsteadily careening towards their prey with an unsteady gait. But then they can switch to an all-out sprint to chase after a target on the move. They smell and follow blood and noise, but like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park, they can't see someone if they don't move. Yet other times, they can. The inconsistencies keep the viewer guessing, and not in a good way. Ultimately, Azrael lacks the energy or chills to terrify viewers. The setting where the story takes place is strange but befuddling, mixing religion and horror, in the hopes of scaring the audience. Instead, the film merely strikes an ominous mood, like a poorly executed haunted house. Text in between scenes does little to connect one moment to the next, so for most of the movie, your mind fills in the script's blanks, which can feel more laborious than enjoyable. This, A Quiet Place, riff doesn't do enough to set itself apart and fails to frighten its audience with anything they haven't seen before. Directed by E.L. Katz. Starring Samara Weaving, Vic Camen Sonne, Nathan Stewart Jarrett, Johan Rosenberg, Eero Milanov, Sebastian Bull Sarning, Ria Lest, Fong Giang, Katarina Unt, Sonia Roschuk, Valentin Sin, Vincent Willestrand, Karen Bengo, Peter Christopherson, Felix Leach, and Lucy Jan. Synopsis. In a world where no one speaks, a devout, female-led community hunts down a young woman who has escaped imprisonment. Recaptured, Azrael is due to be sacrificed to an ancient evil in the wilderness, but fights for her own survival. In a post-apocalyptic world where its remaining scavengers have given up using their voices, Azrael has no dialogue, aside from one miscellaneous stranger offering assistance while speaking a foreign language. As such, one would be forgiven for not knowing who Azrael even is until the ending credits roll. It could simply be the film's star, Samara Weaving, or perhaps it is a universal name for the flesh-eating demons running around the woods. Or maybe it is the name of the unborn baby demon that a cult seems to be bringing into existence. To even bother dissecting the plot practically feels like a fool's errand. Coming from director E.L. Katz and the guest writer Simon Barrett, it's also not much of a surprise that Azrael is more concerned with tension, cat-and-mouse games, and violent standoffs bursting with gore and spewing geysers of blood. Samara Weaving's Azrael, I can answer that question for you, appears to be making the most of this rough existence, smitten with Nathan Stewart Jarrett's Kenan, handing over a makeshift keepsake of sentimental, potentially romantic value. Those relatively happy times are quickly upended as a band of misfit lunatics decide to separate and subdue them, explicitly planning to use Azrael as a sacrifice for the demons. Unsurprisingly, Samara Weaving is making the most of limited material and giving it her all physically, whether constrained and trying to break free, fleeing danger, or fighting back. There are seemingly religious phrases flashed across the screen in an ominous dark red between chapters, with one of them mentioning that suffering leads to endurance, which leads to hope. That's essentially the arc of the character here. There is also no denying that the filmmakers have crafted a series of suspenseful sequences that are unafraid to get graphic, with throats ripped out, heads decapitated, and blood spraying in every direction. Sometimes, it feels as if the film is overcompensating with gore to make up for little is here narratively, but the practical effects on display are nonetheless gnarly to absorb. Samara Weaving also has an expressive face that sells the character's evolution from hiding to storming the encampment, guns in hand. She is tasked with doing everything from climbing trees to engaging in brutal hand-to-hand battles, smartly using claustrophobic environments. The issue here is most likely obvious, but there is nothing to care about or invest in from a character or emotional standpoint. Even the romantic love interest aspect seems like an afterthought. Reveals that there are still people speaking and living a normal life away from this madness go nowhere. Azrael also has a shockingly abrupt ending, struggling to reach the 80-minute mark without credits. Some movies come across as half-formed, and then there are movies like this that have nothing going on and feel made up on the fly, only concerned with moving from one action for a set piece to the next. Samara Weaving is talented, and the filmmakers understand how to convey danger and generate thrills. But they are severely handicapped by an unfortunate, gimmicky concept that does no favors for telling an actual story. Missouri Azrael may have been filmed in Estonia, but the underlying horrorist had of pious residents of small towns in the Midwest, having been told in uncertain terms that God hates them all. Azrael's navigation of this supernatural survival nightmare always comes with the unanswerable question of what she did to be left behind. And Barrett, who originally drafted the script to direct themselves, Katz and Weaving all worked together to keep that ambiguity just in the corner of the audience's eye, weaving who excels at this kind of character-driven action horror. Plays perfectly with our empathy, wordlessly guiding us through this damned land. When her destination is revealed, nobody should be surprised. Azrael simply proves chilly that now is right. This film, directed by Decats, written by Simon Barrett, produced by Dan Kagan. Simon Barrett Kaplan, starring Samara, weaving Vic Camen, Nathan Stewart, cinematography Mark Donnell, edited by Ben Baudouin, music by Decent Production Company Traffic. C2 Motion Picture Group, distributed by FC Films. Shudder, releases March 9, 2024 in South H by Southwest, September 27, 2024 in United States. Running time 85 minutes. Country United States. Language English. Box office 555,500. So guys, this is their view of Azrael movie, and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.